How do I get the symbols? Is that a new feature? Shout out to SideRight for Google Lichess tools, or just search that in Chrome extensions. Search that in Chrome extensions, and you'll see. You'll see how to get that. You're asking about the Lichess analysis tools developed by a viewer of mine. SideRight. Busch-Gass? I love it. I don't even know what to do. I love it. What's like a spicy line I could play here? Okay, let's go for it. I mean, I'm not gonna be that guy who plays D3. What do you got? Knight C6, right? Okay. Okay. Oh, this is so fun. He wrote, "This is as far as I've memorized." Oh, that's not good. You don't want to cut your... You don't want to cut it off there. You don't want to cut it off there. Okay, let's go... Let's go with bishop takes f7. Let's go with bishop takes f7. So I've given both of these moves on my channel. King f8 is objectively the better choice, because king e7 has like a very difficult refutation to spot. So king f8 played. Okay, I'm gonna play... I know like the absolute best moves to play, but I'm gonna play what I know is a nice counter gambit, because I want to don the gambit glasses. I'm just gonna give you this. I'm just gonna give you the knight, straight up. Because I don't want to just be like, he actually just told me this as far as I memorized, so I don't want to use that against him. But now we're both in theory. Now I get to don the gambit glasses. I am down a piece for 2 pawns. Right? So of course, like, the main stuff would have just been with knight takes, d takes, and then retreating the bishop. But then with this all opening up, there's very powerful stuff coordinating on f2 very quickly. We could talk a lot about that after. So knight c6 played. What I'm gonna do here, I think, because I could play like c3 to play d4, right before I was starting to trap it. I'm now gonna play this move e5, because knight takes e5 I have d4. So this seems pretty nasty. Hard to do something. In fact, I've definitely won a piece here, because knight can't really go anywhere. Because queen to f3 check, and coming into f7 seems not good. I think bishop to e7 if you really want to keep a piece. So they take it. Yeah, so they have to give the piece back. Could I have kept up the gambit ways? c3, d6, d4, bishop here. I think there, black's actually starting to consolidate a little bit. This is fun. I've gambited against my Busch-Gass Gambit. Okay, what's the count? We're even. We're even, but my king feels a little safer. But, okay, it's not so bad for them. I'm not sure where to put my bishop right now. Let's just play knight c3 while I think about it. I know my knight's going there. I'm not sure where my bishop is going. I'm not sure it was so urgent to make that decision. This is very interesting. This is actually really cool. I faced my own baby, my Busch-Gass Gambit. Bishop to f5, okay. So their king can't castle, and my light square bishop here has actually been doing just a phenomenal job. In fact, I'm very aware of, like, maybe ideas like this. So let's go to g5. Thing is, do I have a good response if they just come h6? There you go, f4 and h6. Let's come here. I think if you're black, like, a dangerous idea could have been swing the queen here. And then you're looking at, like, ideas like this and this. Queen e8, just using the fact, I don't know, just using the fact that there's no one there. It's worth a shot. I would have tried my own ideas, kind of, in that time. But, okay, here I want to follow with knight d5, so this is very logical. I can't take a knight d5, because knight f3 check wins my queen in that position. Queen takes d4. So I didn't really see that. If I back up bishop h4, g5, bishop g3, did I just help them? Maybe I did. Queen f4. It's possible. Alright, well, we're even on pawns here. So I actually can't wear these. Alright, let's just back it up. Bishop f4. I mean, h6 didn't really change much. If knight g6 right now. They go that way. But queen c4 now may be annoying. Knight a5 is something we gotta watch out for, but right now I'm threatening that. So queen d7. This feels like not what you wanted to face. I probably should have just come here. Because now... Yeah, that's actually... Here I can take it, I think. A takes, bishop takes, and that's hanging. Okay. Got 3-second increment, but we let our time dwindle again. Oh, I thought I had something there, but g takes, I think I might have nothing. No, I do. I have queen c3. I think f6. So, okay, we get out the way. Maybe that was smart. I'm not sure. But I'm happy that I haven't, like, allowed them to fix this. Okay. Good, good, good. And now let's just kind of stack our rooks if we can't. If we can't do that, just stack them on the E line. Let's go rook e3. A6 is fine. Pressure. Oh, I just have bishop takes. I think they missed this. This is just losing. They have to give the queen. There's no squares. I think their position was very bad anyway. Good game. Good game. They played a Busch-Gass against me. They played a Busch-Gass against me, my own viewer. I love it. I love it. So, okay, wait. Let's have a look. Let's have a look-see. This game is already analyzed. Hofsna with the follow. Appreciate it. E4, E5. Knight f3. They played a Busch-Gass Gambit against me. My own baby. My own baby, the Busch-Gass Gambit. Knight takes E5 and knight C6. Lots of fun stuff. It's Stafford-esque, but a little different. A little different. White has some other options here, but we can get them. Or we have other ideas like F5. The super fun line they played here was bishop C4, knight F6, right? So you saw this in action a little bit. You saw this in action a little bit. Because knight takes E5 looks like such an appealing move. Because it hits F7. You're up a pawn and you're going to play D4 next. But then here comes knight C6. Crazy move out of nowhere. So we have two ways to take F7. If you just try to bail out here, it's actually not a good bailout. Because D takes C6, the Stafford capture here is extremely powerful. Like with E4 hit, let's say you just play something natural like D3. A, you can't play D4 because the queen has been opened up onto here. And this is well controlled by black. B, the bishop also was opened up, both of these things by D takes C6, to allow for this, so the queen can't take you. Hit on F2, castles queen H4, black is already winning. H2 and F2 are both hit here too many times. So, you can't blunder like that. So then there's a couple of ways to take F7, right? So there's knight takes F7, bishop takes F2 check. This is all covered on my channel in the original video here, where, okay, knight takes E4 check, queen can come to H4. You know, King G1 is actually the only move that doesn't lose. Everything else loses. Really, really, really fun lines here. King to F1 also covered on my channel. It's Traxler-esque, but a little bit different. A little bit different. And that's also touched on because the knight came from E5, took this pawn. And why is this file open? You will see. You will see. You will see. But bishop takes F7 I played in the game. King to F8. And here, it's also, so people play bishop takes and they play knight takes. Here, white's up 2 pawns. This is hit, though. Right? If I play knight takes c6, which is really the most natural, like any other knight move this is losing, and the knight is under attack, d takes c6 comes, and now with the bishop under attack, right, d takes c6, you can't give him that capture, or you gotta be very, very careful if you do at least, because now a bishop move right? Now there's a few winning lines here, but the most concrete is bishop to g4, and with such poor development, right? Like you don't even have a knight here to cover, you don't have a queen to move. Such poor development, the queen actually has no squares. So f3 comes and knight takes e4. This is actually completely winning. Can't take here because of the queen, and you can't take here because of the king. Check coming to f2, and then otherwise there's this fun line that will actually end the game. Don't lose the queen after king f1 to block the rook, and then otherwise, okay, I've gotten this checkmate actually a number of times as well. So we got like so many fun lines here, so many ways for white to go wrong. I went for a very spicy line. Which is castles. I put on the gambit glasses here because now you took my knight, right? But you didn't get to go d takes c6. This very important capture to open yourself up, which typically you get to do. But now I come back all the way to b3, and I'm actually down material here. I'm down a piece for 2 pawns, but your king is actually unsafe. I castled. I didn't help develop your pieces, right? It's very, 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 very rare. I mean, we can even look in this position. I mean, how many people have played this move, castle? Oh my god. Was I the first? There's one game here. I see literally one game with the move castles in 566 games. So actually, a lot more people are playing the Busch-Gass Gambit ever since that video, which I love to see. You gotta get on that train before it's been Staffordized and everyone knows it. We're still very far from that point. Bishop to b3. Okay, we want to play d4 and trap this. Knight to c6 played, and now e5. E5. So I mean, we're striking here. What do I recommend against this? I think an interesting move here. Yeah, an interesting move here is using the whole point of king f8 instead of king e7 is that you have this. So now we're really attacking this knight for real. We're starting to play queen takes e5 where we're not getting forked. And so here you see the only good option for white is now taking it. And so you're not allowing them the opportunity to actually sacrifice a piece. And after queen takes e4, okay, they don't have d4. They should play something on the c3. The queen comes to h4. And it feels like black still has actually some nice resources to look for attacking on h2 and f2. I mean, don't pay too much attention to the evaluation because your opponent will mess up. There's crazy stuff going on in this line. I mean, it matters a little bit, but not too much. Knight takes e5, bishop to b3. Okay, we're trying to fork them. Knight to c6. I mean, you can't blame him for that, but e5 is actually a really nice move. And yeah, like I was saying, any knight move, and there's queen to f3 check coming into f7. So that's tough. So black takes on e5, but now after d4, takes. I am actually down no material, but just really actually a nice position, and black's position is kind of tough here with the king on f8. They need to be able to like move their king and then try to arrange a castle. Like their king and rook need to trade places. You know, if only there were a special move in chess that would do that. But they need something like here, and here. It's hard to do, especially around this bishop. And so that's sort of what happens here. So they play your d6, bishop I just developed, bishop to f5 they tried to develop, bishop to g5, h6. Okay, the engine wanted me to go here. I didn't want to help them do this. But the thing about the pawn g5 is actually that's a hook to trade. And that's actually really brutal with the rook joining the attack like that. So g5 wasn't really, because king g7, I thought they could help them do that. But okay, just play bishop f4, pressure here. Knight c6, queen c4, queen d7, bishop a4. Didn't love that. I wanted to not allow knight a5 in the trade, but apparently it's not a big deal. Here, and just knight a5 allow the trade, it's fine. Okay, bishop a4, a6, or d1. Right, there's no b5 as a resource because takes, and I will win the piece back, and then I just am up those 2 pawns now. In the game, so I play your knight d5. Yeah, taking it, I think, exacerbated their problems. They could play this line with b5, but then I was going to take it. Takes and queen c3, trying to take here. There's some interesting line here they have to equalize. Okay, in the game, takes, queen takes, and you can see kind of the same sort of problem, like a little bit up and down, but same sort of problem for black, that they're far from castling and a little bit tied down. Yeah, they had to kind of go for this concrete line. Like, if you don't like the position, you should try to go for a concrete line that will change the position dramatically. But yeah, I mean, it was already really tough for them. I mean, I think my opponent played quite well here. After t3, it takes b3. Okay, and they just had this big one move blunder here. c6, bishop takes c6. The pawn no longer defends. No square for the king. You have to give the queen, so my opponent resigned. But yeah, this position's already bad. A takes b3 opens that. That's another thing you got to defend, and then once you do deal with it awkwardly, then my rook's just going to go somewhere else and continue to cause problems. For example, rook e8, trading the 2 rooks for the queen, and then also grabbing the bishop as one of many resources, or rook e7 as well. Yeah, the king and the rook need to be on opposite sides. So tough game. I found kind of an interesting counter gambit against the Busch-Gass Gambit. I think the best way if you ever face this, is play queen to e7. At this point, white is forced to give you knight takes c6, and then, you know, you get your gambit-y ways. You're down just the 1 pawn. Yes, good game, good game, good game. Alright, alright, alright. Who... My name is W. Grafe. Who is subscribed to me on YouTube and Twitch, and what is your username? Challenge me whatever time control you wish. I'm W. Grafe on Lee Chess. Miss B5 on move 17. Comment your username on Lee Chess here. Your checkmate insurance. And you're falling there. You got it. 2219. Good luck. Good luck, mute stream. Polls don't stream snipe me. 2219, hopefully, who immediately accepts the Busch-Gass Gambit. Love that. I hope there's some preparation here. Knight to f3 is an interesting line. I was just talking about d takes c6 as a powerful recapture in the Busch-Gass, or in Stafford's and such. So you can spend a tempo to dodge it. Knight to f3, it threatens d4. d4 is the big enemy of the Busch-Gass Gambit. It cuts off the bishop, so we need to make sure it's not available at all times. It's still not available. d4, I have knight takes d4, and if knight takes d4 there, we trade queens, and then after takes, they are no longer up a pawn. So bishop e2 again threatens d4, but we put our bishop there on g4 in their face. d4, they can play it, but I will castle now at this point, with the rook pinning the pawn to the queen, so takes is no good. So interesting position here. Of course, the engine actually gives an advantage greater than +1, because it's a center pawn we're down. And I love playing this against strong players. And with increment. Increment Gambit, man, is no joke. So we castle and castle. We got a few interesting ideas here. Number one idea is here, looking at h2. Okay, knight e4 is a good move. Knight e4 is actually a good move. In fact, the way they played knight e4, by playing it now instead of last turn, I think is especially annoying for me. It's especially annoying for me. If I go knight f6, do they go knight g3, queen g6, knight... Alright, I think knight f6 is kind of my only move. I could go bishop b6. I just don't think that bishop's going to be worth the effort. It's kind of actually my honest take on the matter. Let's go knight f6. I think they're going to take this one, which is a good trade for them. It's a good trade for them. That dark square bishop is valuable. If I were white, I would make that trade, and then I would go c3, and then d4 next turn. I think they can pull that off. I would continue, though, putting pressure with rook e8, and then start putting pressure on the light squares. Andrew Nesh with the subscription on YouTube. Thank you so much. You down for a game? I am. That's what the stream's all about. Hello, hello. Make sure you are... Comment your Lee Chess username and which platforms, Twitch, YouTube, you are subscribed on. And if you are a Twitch subscriber or a YouTube super, you've cheered or something, you get absolute priority in the queue. Okay, h3 now is... This is compelling. It takes and knight takes g4. I mean, I really want to see if I can get away with that. Because the move I want to play after that is like knight d4. I could like fishing pole this. That's also an option. It's kind of interesting. Takes knight takes g4. I don't want to just like waste time thinking about it if it's good. Because g3 queen h3. Rook e1 knight d4. Might just be good. Bishop f1. I like it. If I just come back. I don't know. I don't know. I do know it's fun. That was my standard for playing it. I think like I could have just kind of taken and kind of pressed my initiative with something like knight d4 there. Looking at the c2 pawn. c3. Okay, we can make that trade. But then they're getting in d4, right? So that also wasn't it. So I'm lacking the... Oh, they go for it. Oh. Oh, knight to h4. I didn't see this move. Okay, they're hitting g4. Knight to h4 is clever. If I play f5, though, you play... Or knight here, yeah? I got a few options. But knight here, g3. Basically, I need a good answer to g3. But my answer to g3 is probably g5. So I have f5, I have rook d4, and I have knight e5. So, okay, interesting. Rook d4 is kind of compelling. G3, g5. It's hard for me to say for sure which is the best. I like this. No, I like this. I like a couple of them. Okay, so takes is not on the table because the knight, I think it's trapped after g3. It's leaning because I have g5, knight g2, and then the knight comes to f3 is kind of what I was thinking about. I'm spending too much time. Okay, here g5 I think was effective for the reasons I said. Do you want... If knight f3, then just knight d4. So I think you should take it. Knight takes f5, obviously that's checkmate. So I think you should take it, but now my knight comes there. That's what I wanted. Knight comes... Makes a beeline there. Coming here. Oh, king g2. Yeah, queen h3, right? And you lose. So f4 is needed, but that's also losing because of either pawn takes or knight f3 check, which is better. Both are winning. I like knight f3 even better. I think we got him, though. Because check in here, right? I think they missed this. A lot of people make this mistake. They start playing against my clock. Check. Now you gotta take it. King f2, you're definitely gonna get mated. Queen h2. Take it. f2 now would win the queen, right? That's one of the reasons I found this appealing. Queen f1 should be played, but then I'll just take f4. Yeah, so you don't even have time to fortify this. Yeah, I'll just take f4. This is just a check. I gotta be aware of it, like in terms of where I put my queen. Queen f1 so that you don't get mated here. But, yeah, wow, interesting game. g7 is spicy, but there's f2. There's f2, I just said that. I don't want to forget about my own ideas. GG. Wow, what a battle. What a battle. Let's have a look at this. The Gambit Man, I'm pretty sure, is undefeated against his own viewers today. So, my viewers are good. Not to toot my own horn, but I think that's exactly what I just did. Knight f3, bishop to c5. We got another Busch-Gass Gambit on the board. So, knight takes c5, knight c6. Right? Talking a lot about the d takes c6, the Stafford capture, the ideas of like the bishop and the queen opening up, controlling here, knights coming here, an additional resource you have if you don't like the lines in the Stafford, because that's like a very good way to play against the Stafford. It kind of refutes it. Here and here is the best way to do it. Queen comes to f3, everything's solid. But you have this other idea of, like, let's say they play h3, f5, opening both of these lines here, putting the rooks here and here, and it's actually very strong for black. In the game, knight to f3, which is a spicy line. No d takes c6, right? And it looks very good. It's a high-level move. I've faced this a number of times, actually. We're playing here d5. Because if I do literally anything else, then after d4, this knight on f3 does a great job. You'll note, like, right, the reason the knight on f3 is so important. Is because if you make this capture, then d takes c6 happens, right? Okay, so let's say, you know, they keep going, like, here, right? In this line, what white's problem is like the bishop's defending here. They don't have d4 because this is controlled twice, and because they don't have a knight here, right? Also, they don't have a knight here to stop the queen coming to h4. Also, they don't have a knight here to guard h2. So all these things is what contributes to why they lose the game. But the knight on f3, the standard castle defender of your king, suddenly solves all these problems, and okay, here d4 and white would be much better. That's why we need strike with d5 right now. So if d4 is played right here, okay, we can play like bishop to b4, or just take this first, and here this is already like a better endgame for black. So they don't want king takes d1, awkward recapture, and they have no development. So in the game here, e takes d5, right? They've faced this a million times before. Queen takes d5. Now the pawn was in the way. We traded off the pawn, not d takes e6, but on d5, and we have 3 defenders on d4, so there's no d4 in this position, right? Which is the antithesis to this bishop's striking down this way. Most people play knight c3. It looks like a very super duper natural move, right? How could that be wrong? Queen comes to h5, which stops d4 in a very secret way. d4, like I was mentioning during the game, I have knight takes d4, and white here would no longer be up a pawn or have any advantage at all. So, for that reason, my opponent sees that, and whoops, ignore that. Plays bishop to e2, right? Bishop to e2, diffusing this, putting some pressure on my queen. Now d4 is really on the table again. I can't take this anymore, of course, because there's a bishop in my way. So, now there's a bishop in your way. And if you play d4 now, then castles actually looks really, really nice. Lots and lots of pressure here. And I'll talk about maybe some other stuff that's more common in this line after the game. In the game, my opponent just castles short, and I castle long. And here, so d4, you don't really want to play with the rook right onto your queen like that. d3, if played. So, like, the main idea at a high level that I'm looking at, right, because it's hard to kind of find a great idea for white, but they actually found a good idea, which is knight d4 in the game. At a high level, what I'm looking for here is bishop to d6. And my target is on h2. You might have seen, like, I kind of repeat a lot of the same ideas. I love my queen here and the bishop there against this knight, and then targeting that knight. It comes up in a few lines, most notably for white in, like, the Alapin and Von Papil and Von Hennig gambits with the queen e1, queen h4, bishop here, pressuring h7, pressuring here. I'll link those videos below as well. But I'm looking at h2 right now. I'm looking at h2. I want to just eliminate that knight and checkmate you there. And if h3, I want this sacrifice. Now, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But queen takes h3, if you can get this in, this is extremely effective. The knight is completely frozen because I will checkmate you on h2. And then otherwise, okay, my next move is probably just knight d4. Again, the knight's frozen, so I want to take it and get you at h2. Or get a rook across one way or another. Right, so here, okay, this position, oh, they have knight e4, eliminating the bishop. I think the thing is, if they eliminate the bishop, right, like let's say here, and you eliminate the bishop, then you have knight h2 or something like this, and bishop to g4 check. Queen takes g4 and can make some trades. So you can, it's because of the bishop on e2 actually provides some nasty resources here, and also, yeah, in this position, they have this nice move, knight to g5. With the bishop's defense, because they played d3, so they have the bishop's defense, and then they're hitting my queen a couple times here with the bishop on e2. I don't have bishop to g4 as a pullback, which otherwise would work if my king were on b8, but this is check. If it weren't check, then queen h2 would be mate. But otherwise, here we're kind of screwed. Then the queen moves somewhere, and then they just go knight takes h3. So you got to be careful. It doesn't always work. But if you can induce g3, that's good stuff. Now we're talking about h5, h4. We're talking about bring our rook to e8 and maybe taking on e2 and winning this without the pawn defending the f3 knight. So that's fun stuff. Bishop d6 a little premature. A nice move that actually solves all these problems is if you can get in this move f5, right? Let's say they play something now like rook e1. Now, okay, knight f6 first is better, but like I don't know why this isn't good. Now this is more likely that this kind of works. Rook e1 was actually a very useful move because of bishop f1 here. let's say they just played like bishop to d2. I don't know. I just try and demonstrate something. Okay, it's now a good move. Bishop to d6. It's really starting to obligate g3 because h3 takes, right. There's no like fancy knight g5 here. You have bishop to g4. You have the pawn here defending g4 and shielding you from checks. So this is winning for black. Otherwise, the knight e5 crazy move. I mean, it's very hard to see. Otherwise, g takes h3, queen takes h3. Here, this is winning. Alright, there's no knight to e4, there's no bishop coming to g4, so I really like this move in this structure, actually. Almost always. Play that move f5. Very, very useful stuff. Shields you from the checks, gives you important support on g4, and also stops this knight to e4 resource, and also, if you ever find yourself like in a position like this with the bishop on e3 defending this d4 pawn, it's actually very important because it can give you an idea, like let's say here, to play, yeah, f4 can often be a good move. You can support that first, but f4 can often be a good move. Takes and then crash through here against this. Like for example, let's say rook e8, let's say they do nothing again, and now f4, something like this. Okay, bishop d6, still a nice resource, but f4 takes, knight takes d4. This is really, really nice stuff. Here, rook takes d4. Make sure you have g4 supported, which you do, right? This doesn't get them anywhere. And here, like, everything's kind of actually hanging for white as this is dead. Queen c1, Okay, we can combine a lot of nice resources here with bishop to d6 and now checkmate on h2. So the queen on h5 along with f5, you're looking at a lot of nice ideas here in exchange for just that one pawn. In the game, my opponent plays knight to e4, targeting kind of the source of a lot of these problems, which is this bishop. Right, so I didn't get an f5 in time. They play knight to e4 at an opportune moment. They're looking at the dark square bishop, which can be captured here or here. I could spend a move to save it, but then the bishop on b6 can't reroute itself to this important diagonal. I'm not really hitting f2 anymore. They castled, they got the rook there. When they castle, right, I'm hitting wherever the rook isn't. The bishop on c5 in the Busch-Gass Gambit, it's hitting f2, right? Not h2, because that's where the rook is. But it's hitting f2. Now they castle. The rook is here. And in general, this happens in a couple other lines. Then we just switch here. I'm just switching targets. Okay, the rook's guarding that one. Now I'm switching to h2. But the bishop on b6 can't reroute itself to h2. So knight to e4 is an annoying move. So I'm not going to spend a move just trading it somewhere else. I'm going to spend a move developing here with knight to f6. So they take on c5, queen takes c5. And here they play the ambitious move h3, which actually allows for some fun to happen in the position. I think the best move, I don't have the engine on, but I think the best move is c3. c3 and d4 and gives you a very solid little structure here. I'm right. Yeah, I think I'm right. So, like, let's say now rook e8, I would probably play d4. I could bring the queen to h5, but I can't actually make a threat on h2 without this bishop. And so here, you know, if they play this right, they're probably okay. But if they play this wrong, yeah, I have some nice moves like knight d5. Still playing with my pins. No pawn takes because of that. No knight takes because of that. So, actually, a lot of fun stuff going on here. Knight to e5, still, like, putting a lot of pressure here. But, okay, they can be careful and save themselves somehow. Interesting position. Yeah, c3 actually by far the best move. In the game, h3. And the engine did want, I called it, the engine did want me to take on f3. After bishop takes f3, and then it wants me to go after this pawn, which I also called. So knight d4 wasn't a great move, because c3, and they're doing alright. The point is, c3 needs every time to be followed by d4. If there's no d4 right after c3, and, like, you can just, like, stop that, then this is a very, very bad move. Like, you've just jammed in these pieces forever. But takes, I can't put anything on d3 right now, and they can pre-move d4, and they'll be okay, and just have a pawn. That's why we go to b4, hitting c2 in such a way that if c3, my knight can jump there, alright? And okay, we're not hitting the king, but we've really tied down their development, and they need to find some really creative move to preserve any sort of edge, just giving one of these pawns in some weird way. So that, I mean, that's, of course, the engine's top recommendation, but for me, I'm a little bit more ambitious, and I go with the double question mark line, queen to h5. So, okay, they were absolutely right to call me out. They took this. If they didn't take it, they just played d3, I was going to go with, like, okay, the engine wants me to move my bishop back, but I was going to go with here. I want to, like, take e2, and then, okay, let's say like this. I don't know. I was thinking about ideas like takes, here, knight d4, right? Okay, now I have this pin. I'm hitting f3 so many times. If you take here now, oh, it's just checkmate. It's just checkmate. Okay, fun stuff. I was going to tell you, I have knight takes, attacking the queen, and this knight trying to come in queen h2, and then take here and take here, yeah. Interesting. So, queen to h5. Crazy stuff happening. They call me out. They take g4, and I go knight takes g4. Okay, what's going on? Because you can see a huge swing between, like, the best move, second best move, third best move. I'm down a full piece here. I got a pawn for that piece, but I was already down a pawn. So we're down a full piece. I need this knight to move. Above all else, I need that knight to move. There's no pawn in my way. I'm just trying to get there. So my next move is going to be knight d4. Right? It's going to be knight d4. They need to arrange some sort of defense. Now, my opponent goes for this move knight to h4, which isn't the best move. And I missed it. I was looking at, like, g3. Right? So now that kind of sets up knight to h4. And what I was going to do was queen h3. This is what I was kind of looking at during the game. So again, knight is still frozen. So I just kind of slide past that square. And if you arrange rook e1, bishop to f1, right, I was going to go knight d4 here. Right, this is still checkmate. I still checkmate you there. So, and if bishop to f1, I can still checkmate you here in the nick of time. So that I thought was okay. The best move, but now I'm realizing d3, you can just defend this a different way. Now you just defended h2 that way, so even though I get rid of the knight, and so here I might just completely lose. But even against a great player, they didn't see it. I don't know. We just keep up. We just keep it up. We just keep it up. D3, and that's the thing. Or they miss one thing and they lose. I was gonna so maybe okay. If to D3, let's say I see that the bishop f4. Can I stop that? I'd probably give it a shot. My other idea would be bring a rook around somehow. Let's say g5. Now I put knight d4 back on the table. Let's say bishop takes g5 and rook g8. It's not obvious to me. Now I've got some ideas. Here, knight d4? No. I don't know. Fun stuff, though. Fun stuff. I mean, I'm still going after it. But that was, yeah, d3 is the best move. For that reason, because your next move is the bishop coming to f4. Rook d1 was good because of... Oh, you can just play d3 next turn. And then run your king after check to e2 and survive. Not obvious. That's going to be okay. Okay, knight to h4 in the game. There was one good move here, and we played it. It was f5. It was f5. So, crazy stuff happening here, right? This trade is not going to be good for me. Bishop's going to come to h3 at minimum, and we're just down a piece, because this is check and everything. The thing is, I need both these pieces. So, like, rook to d4, I think they can also just trade on g4 in this case. Or, yeah, there's just g3. The point of f5 is that I need g5 to not allow this to be a good resource. And what f5 does is make sure that after they defend that knight, now with g5, they don't really have a great move, right? So that's the difference here, is that I'm able to have this nice recapture of f takes g4 in the game. Because here this is already bad for them, right? So they play g3 to hold the knight here, because takes, right, is just going to transpose to the game. The knight has no squares, they need g3. G3 here. Now after g5, we're hitting this. Knight takes f5, impossible. So knight to f3, and then we're just back to square one. I'm just playing knight d4. I'm going to make that knight move, and I'm going to get you right there. King g2 is not going to help you because... I can take and rook h1 and then even go there. So you're not up a piece. Unless I got that wrong. It's better here. Takes check here. And open up another file. Okay. In the game, bishop takes g4 played, which makes a lot of sense, and knight just now needs to come to g2 or f5. The problem is this is actually all bad because f takes g4 is a brilliant recapture. We've taken away important squares for the knight. Knight to f5. If they're able to achieve these next two moves, they're totally fine. Alas, we have one great move in this position. It is knight to e5. With f takes g4, the point is we supported this beautiful f3 square, and they don't have the pieces out right now to contest this beautiful square. King g2, again, the pawn does another great thing, which is support queen to h3. Check, so there's no rook coming to h1. The h file will be ours, and we are getting in there. No knight to d4 because the rook is contributing to the game. Knight to g2 is going to be really the exact same story. The knight coming to e5 or d4 and pouring right in there. My opponent continued to battle here with f4, so knight to f3 is not just going to immediately end the game. But, yeah, even better than just en passant, because here... Okay, en passant was also good. But knight to f3 check, I think, was more direct, because this was really just going to be checkmate. So, yeah, it is checkmate. All the pieces are contributing there. So in the game, rook takes f3, pawn takes f3. But, again, you totally lack development. The bishop is not out. Even if you had, like, d3 and you could play, like, bishop to e3, then the bishop could recapture here. The rook could guard the queen, so f2 wouldn't be a resource, right? And you'd have two pieces for the rook, maybe. But here, this is just really brutal because I'm threatening f2, check winning the queen. And if you play something like queen f1, I take. And then everything's just, like, my rooks are just going to come to f8 and g8. Okay, hopefully without blundering a fork. But the bishop takes f4 is impossible. This is hanging, so this is just completely lost for them. Knight g7 they threw in, but yes, I had this nice move f2. Again, because the bishop has not moved, and they don't have coordination there. So a crazy 19-move battle in a really interesting line in the Busch-Gass Gambit. My opponent had one really critical error the whole game. Really just the one, because they played everything right to this point. But they needed d3 to look for that bishop f4, bishop to h2 resource, where we would still keep battling. g5, I don't know, takes, and then throw in this. I don't know. It would be interesting. Okay, subscribe if all that goes on YouTube. Long live the Busch-Gass Gambit.
William Grave, the Gambit man, takes his seat at the board. e4, e5, knight f3, bishop c5. The Busch-Gass Gambit on the board. On with the Gambit classes. Hero pod unlocked!